Welcome to the Invention Stories on YouTube. My name is Robert Bear. I'm your host, and thank you for watching. And today our interview is with Jared and Karina Rabin, the inventors of the Hang-O-Matic. This interview has been previously recorded and shared on the Invention Stories podcast, May 31st, 2018. Please be sure to subscribe, comment, and like. Thank you, and let's roll. The Hang-O-Matic is an all-in-one decor hanging tool that takes the guesswork out of hanging everything. It was developed by husband and wife team Jared and Karina Rabin, and as of this recording, the Hang-O-Matic is sold in over 11,000 stores. Jared and Karina have been featured on reality TV shows Quit Your Day Job, Thunderdome, and The Elevator Pitch. I see that you come from different backgrounds. Let me start with you, Karina. I've learned that you're from Latvia, and I had to look it up because I wasn't quite sure where it was. And you came to the United States as a little kid, and you bagged groceries for tips, and I learned this from your LinkedIn profile, and you made pom-poms out of plastic grocery bags?
So Latvia used to be part of Russia, USSR. So when my family and I immigrated here in 89, I was 10 years old. My parents were, when we had just moved here, we didn't have any money. My dad was cleaning real estate offices, and my mom was working at JFK Airport, welcoming other Russian people as they were coming into the States for the first time. And the four of us were living in an 800 square foot apartment, and I was a kid. I was in 5th grade, and I saw other kids wear Gap and have nice lunch bags and bring in nice lunches while I was eating bread and salami, because that's what we only had in Russia. There wasn't, an enormous amount of food like there is in America. So I started asking for money. I want to wear nice clothes, and I want to have turkey sandwiches. And basically my parents were like, well, we don't have any money, so you're going to have to work for it. And I didn't know what that meant. So I found a brand new supermarket that just opened, and I positioned myself at the end of the cash register and started bagging people's groceries, and they were giving me tips. So I found a way to, show my parents that I'm making money, because they said that I had to work for it.
Wow.
They probably meant I had to, help around the house. But I took it a step further and got myself a job. I shortly got kicked out because obviously I wasn't employed by the grocery store. I then figured out how to make pom-poms out of the shopping bags, and then I went door to door in my neighborhood and sold those for $1. So I kind of been doing sales ever since.
Right on. And I saw that you sold candy, and you have the traits of a born entrepreneur. And Jared, I don't want to keep you out of the cold for too long. I see that you attended college in San Diego. Are you from Southern California?
Yep. Born and raised Orange County, and then I went to college at UCSD in San Diego. So always born and raised a local boy here.
All right. Well, Jared, what kind of kid were you?
I was a nerd who went to my dad's work after school every day to help him. I come from a line of tool stores. My grandpa had one, my dad had one. I used to get on the number 1 bus to the number 30 bus and get dropped off in front of my dad's tool store starting in junior high school and work for my dad.
He was able to come up with the Hang-O-Matic. He was already kind of had the tool background in his blood.
Well, how was working with your dad? I know some people can work with their folks and some can't.
My dad is the sweet one. So my dad and they're opposites. My dad is sweet, easygoing, flexible. I'm rigid, a pain in the butt, and aggressive. So him and I are always a good pair. We worked together from junior high school all the way through about maybe 2005 when a really large company bought our tool store. We worked together, believe it or not, very nicely. It was personality-wise, we were a good team.
And I think it's especially cool that you developed the Hang-O-Matic, and probably a lot of that informally or subconsciously because you worked in the hardware industry. Would that be accurate?
Oh yeah, I'm good at putting things together, in my head, and I think a lot of it is because I have a very good depth of knowledge on available fasteners and anchors and how things are put together, and the availability of tools, and that's part of Hang-O-Matic. I kind of put it together in my head before I start building it, and 9 prototypes later, we have our current product, but definitely having that breadth of knowledge, it was a big advantage.
I watched your Pitch to Get Rich YouTube videos, and I wanted to interview you because you have such great chemistry. And for those of you listening who haven't watched, I strongly encourage you to do so, and you'll see what I mean. We will add links to the show notes on inventionstories.com, and I don't mean to blow smoke or anything, but have you been approached by television networks or anyone to turn what you're doing into a show?
Not yet. Thank you, yeah. We've been on 3 reality TV shows, as you saw. We were on Thunderdome, and we were on Quit Your Day Job. That's when we started with the Hang-O-Matic. And most recently, we were on Entrepreneur's Elevator Pitch. And where we got the idea from doing YouTube channels is Jared and I have a 19-month-old and a 5-year-old, and we do Hang-O-Matic together, and he also works full-time. And I do sales and marketing. So we work a lot. But when we were on those TV shows, the one thing I kind of realized, I had a lot of fun doing it with Jared. It was kind of like an uninterrupted hour of just him and I messing around, talking, and sharing what we're doing. Because when we first started, it wasn't an easy journey, and we lost a lot of money, and we had to sell our house, and people didn't believe in us and didn't support us. And now here we are 4 years later, got through all that traffic, and want to help other people do the same. And we thought, what a better way than do it on YouTube. And I thought, we watch Shark Tank all the time. Do you watch Shark Tank?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm a huge fan.
Right, so have you ever seen an inventor ask one of the sharks, how did they get stuck with their businesses?
No, I don't think I have.
No. Right, neither have I. So I thought it would be really fun if that's what we did, where people can come onto our show and ask us how we did it. They can pitch their business and their idea. They're obviously not pitching for any money, but they're pitching for not just advice from what we think, but they also get to ask questions and walk away. You know, in Shark Tank, people walk away with hearing, like, your product sucks and you should just stop doing it, but who are we to tell anyone to stop doing it? So we want to encourage people to make the changes that we feel they should make with their business if they want to continue forward with it, and have them walk away learning what they should do and how they should do it.
I like that. But I'd like to take a step back and ask, how'd you meet? Karina, you attended Wagner College in New York, and you, Jared, you went to school in San Diego, and that's about 3,000 miles away from each other, so how did you meet?
When I met Karina, I was living in L.A.
Orange County.
I was working in L.A., living in Orange County. Karina lives in Hollywood, had followed a boy, not me, from East Coast to L.A. or Hollywood, and we met online on a dating website.
JJ.
And I used to come up to L.A. every single Friday and Saturday and go on dates. And Karina was like I think like number 50. My only second date was Karina, and we had a second date, which was the same night. And then 3 days later, I moved in with my dog, and that was like 10 years ago. We got married a few months after that, and we've been inseparable ever since.
Yeah, so we've been basically together since the first day we met. And it's funny you should ask that, because most recently I was on YouTube looking at videos, and there's so many videos of how we met. And I thought, oh, that'd be a really fun story for us to do, because we pretty much have, like I said, been together since the day one. And Jackie the dog.
Wagner came to Karina's house on day 3.
And at the time I was living in Hollywood, sharing an apartment with a roommate, and the roommate, she had recently bought a brand new couch, and she was the one that bought the new flat screen TV. And I wasn't making any money, so I didn't want to share the expense of that couch and that TV. So every time she wanted to watch some show, she was the one able to watch it on her couch and on her TV in the living room. So Jared and I were stuck in my room. We were in this little tiny room with my tiny IKEA desk and this huge desktop computer. You remember that? And I don't think I even had a TV in my room. And we just talked and got to know each other, and went out and were able to go through the challenges of living in such a small quarters that it seemed like if we can get through living with someone else and being in such a small space, that we can probably have a good life together and get through all the other challenges.
Did you both have like a feeling on the first day that you met that this is the one?
Yeah.
No.
No. The thing for me was love at first sight for me.
For me it was.
She was the most beautiful Jewish girl I've ever seen in my entire life.
I thought it was like the best night of our life.
Hey, I'm a boy. Your girl. She was the hottest Jewish girl I've ever seen in my entire life. And that was huge. And she was super aggressive, which I didn't like. Because I had never dated an East Coaster.
I was aggressive. You were the one that asked to sleep over. I was not making you aggressive.
But so in my world, the man is the aggressive one, and the girl is more, not. And you were aggressive. So, it was like, I guess it wasn't what I ever had and ever seen before or ever been used to. So maybe that that was like long term that drew me in, that she wasn't scared of me, right? Or she wasn't going to just roll over for me. But
I had realized he was probably the person because in the morning when he left, he didn't take me out for breakfast. And at first I thought, oh, well, here we go, loser. How could you not sleep over and not take me out for breakfast? That's one of my important skills of the day, breakfast. And I was pretty disappointed, but I thought, okay, well, maybe he thinks I'm geographically undesirable because we live 45 minutes apart. And then he called me 2 hours later and he said, hey, I'm going to have lunch in LA with some friends. Do you want to come join us? And so I was like, well, I didn't get breakfast, but I got lunch. And then he went home that night and then came back the next day and took me out again. And then we pretty much inseparable ever since. And after that, we tried to, every time people would ask us how we met, they're like, oh my God, there was light at the end of the tunnel. You could meet someone and fall for them right away, It is definitely possible.
Okay. I think for Jared, it's probably not been such a challenge because he's always lived in Southern California. But Karina, you've lived in Latvia and in New York, which is completely different than Orange County. So how do you like living in Southern California?
Well, I love it now. I've been here since 2002, but in the beginning it was very challenging, especially meeting people. I've had some friendships I've lost friendships. Some people couldn't accept my, how do you say it?
Your East Coast, tell how it is.
Yeah, like I don't always think what I say. I just kind of say it. And some people either take it or leave it. So it's either like you love me or hate me, So a lot of times that was challenging. I try to, find friends that are also from the East Coast, so kind of like speak the same language. But that wasn't also very easy. It's still hard. 16 years later, I still have that challenge because I don't understand how to sugarcoat. Does that make sense? Like I just
black and white. Karina's very black and white. You're right. She says how it is. She tells the truth, that's for sure.
I don't think I'm hurting anyone's feelings.
Like I could ask Karina how do I look at this outfit, and she'll tell the truth. I don't have to worry about her being like sweet because she's my wife.
Yeah, real straight shooter, the truth whether it hurts or not. So what is the Hang-O-Matic, and why did you decide to patent it?
So Hang-O-Matic is kind of like a modified tape measure that marks the wall in 2 spots, so you know exactly where to hang your nail, your screw, your anchor. So things that are like TVs, shelves, mirrors, anything that has 2 anchor points, which is all the heavy stuff and the important stuff, it's impossible to get it right the first time. So the purpose of Hang-O-Matic is to quickly be able to mark the wall vertically and horizontally so that, when you don't destroy your brand new wall, you don't destroy your drywall, you don't destroy the process, you make the process less frustrating. And that's what Hang-O-Matic is. It's basically a modified tape measure, is the best way I can describe it, that has 2 marking points that mark the wall. So you don't have to have a pencil, a pen, a tape measure, a level, none of that. You just need a Hang-O-Matic.
And it's a 6-foot tape measure, so you could also use it for multiple things.
And is there anything like it on the market?
There are products that do the same thing, but they're complicated and are expensive or large. So the beautiful thing about Hang-O-Matic is we designed it to work for a woman and a man, not just be another man's tool. And at the risk of sounding sexist, Hang-O-Matic fits my wife's hand, my mom's hand, and my wife can do it without me. She does not need a way for me to hang things up. Whereas the other things in the market work great. There's a lot of really great inventions, but they're big, they're complex, they're complicated, they're intimidating.
They don't expand past 24, 36 inches.
Right. They're just so... Now, a lot of them cannot have Hang-O-Matic, to be honest with you, but I feel like when people are designing these things, they're not thinking for the masses. Me, Karina, people who just want to hang something up and go on with their lives. They don't want to buy this sophisticated contraption that costs a fortune and you use it once in a while. So, Hang-O-Matic closes down to 9 inches. It fits in a toe box, your kitchen drawer. Visually, it's kind of like Ladybug. It's beautiful red with black. It's familiar. That was our point. It was making something that anyone could use, an all-purpose object that, just for anyone, I guess.
Right. And a lot of these other products are also only good for pictures, where Hang-O-Matic is good for shelves, wine racks, toilet paper racks, paper towel racks, literally anything. It marks the wall. You don't need to hang a picture onto the product and then bring it to the wall like some of these other products are.
I love the name Hang-O-Matic. How'd you come up with it?
Thank you. I came up with the name Hang-O because I'm thinking, because it's a new product that doesn't exist, we'll have to come up with something where the product speaks for what it is. So we try to find the.com like picture perfect, hang straight, something along those lines. And all of those products .coms were taken. Plus, they were also really long. So every time I give advice to someone when they want to name their product or business, you have to think of the companies that are already out there, that are already successful. Don't reinvent the wheel, like Geico, Target, Walmart, QVC, NBC, ABC. You know what I mean? They're all brand names, and they're all short. Even Kleenex, right? They're all quick. They're all memorable. So when people name their product, it has to be something fast to say. So I'm thinking hang this, hang that. And then I got Hang-O, like Geico Hang-O.
Or Bingo. I was thinking
Bingo.
we're trying to do something familiar, so it wasn't completely foreign again.
Right.
Because the invention's new, so we don't want everything else to be new. We want to be something familiar.
Right. And then through the years, as we were living together and married and sharing with people, someone said, oh, you know what? It sounds like Hang-O does everything like automatically, so why not add Matic? So it's Hang-O-Matic.
That was very familiar again. In the 70s, everything was the watch-o-matic, the Cyclomatic. So yeah, it was taking a little bit of a familiarity and bringing it back into a new product.
I'd like to ask you about the patent process. Did it take as long as you thought or cost as much as you had imagined?
Way longer. It took years. I think I found my first patent in 2010, maybe, and I didn't get my first actual manufacturer. I didn't get granted until 2014 or 2012. Maybe 2 years for the first one, and then 3 years for the second one. And it was a ton of back and forth. The USPTO, who's the body who manages, they don't do a lot of analysis. Anytime they come up with something that conflicts with a current patent, and there's over 8 million, by the way, utility patents, they push back to you and say, hey, figure this out. It conflicts. And it might be something silly, like a word matches, or it sounds like they just don't do a lot of in-depth analysis. They come up with something that looks strange, and they send it right back to you for either you or you and your lawyer to look at it. Every time your lawyer, has to look at it again, it's $300 an hour. So it was arduous, and glad we're past those two. We have two patents for it, so I'm glad we're past it.
Why did you need two?
So I originally did it on LegalZoom.com by myself, and then a year later I came up with a bunch more ideas on how to do it better. So I did what's called a supplementary patent, and I refiled and plugged in all of the things I missed on my first patent so that no one could take it from me.
Have you had anybody copy you or infringe on your patent?
There are, not as bad as they could. There are people that have products out there that are infringing my patent. It's just not a big enough threat to worry about a lawsuit at this point. We're the only mass retail product in our category. No one else has been successful. So, yes, people are cheating, but we spend good money going after someone who's not successful. It feels wasteful and unnecessary. So, if somebody ever really was competing against me and they were infringing, do one thing. But there are items, but nothing has been successful like us yet. So, we don't want to, waste time or money at this point.
The money on Facebook ads and marketing and inventory.
Sure, that makes sense. How many stores do you have the Hang-O-Matic being sold in?
It's about 11,000 retail locations, which is a combination of 6, 7 large retailers. So like Home Depot, Hobby Lobby, Bed Bath & Beyond, The Container Store, Ace Hardware, Meijer, Sue and Menards, and then we're
in New Zealand.
Right, and we're finishing up getting on Target.com.
You said QVC.
And we're on QVC. We've been on QVC 4 times, 2 times in England, and 2 times in U.S. But yeah, but in terms of retail space, it's all those other stores. So we're in every store at those stores. So it combines about 11,000 locations. We've also been in Michael's and Joann's, but unfortunately, those were the early stores we got into. And we went in with a much older version of our packaging, and the packaging wasn't very clear on what the product did. So it didn't sell very well, and we did not get a reorder. And then we had to hire a real packaging company. We tried to kind of cut the corners and hire freelancers to save the money on the packaging, because packaging design is really expensive. But you know what? Considering that we lost $100,000 and printed 2 different versions of boxes that we had to throw away, and then lose those 2 stores, that expensive packaging is worth every single penny to do it right the first time.
How did you lose $100,000?
Well, we hired freelancers to design our boxes, right? So we paid about $1,000 to a freelancer to design the box. Then we went to the printer, and we printed 30,000 boxes. We didn't use all 30,000 boxes because we found out that the first 10,000 boxes weren't moving, so we trashed the rest of the boxes that we had left over. Then we hired another freelancer and paid another freelancer $1,000, went back to the printer, and printed another 30,000 boxes to learn the first 10,000 boxes aren't moving, and we threw out the second set of boxes.
Knowing what you know now, if you were creating a product today, where would you go for your packaging? Who would you contact?
So the freelancers we hired were each like either Fiverr or referrals, right? So they were about $1,000. They were inexpensive. This time, now that we know the mistake, we would have gone straight to the packaging company. We use an TV packaging company who has experience with what a retail box should look like.
That's that our particular item, which is very, I don't want to say gimmicky because it's not a gimmick, it's a staple item, but it's very like cute and unique and like, oh wow.
But the shape is different, so people wouldn't recognize it.
Right. I feel like our journey, why we have content like YouTube and the Pitch to Get Rich is because of all the mistakes we made over the last, decade? 7 years?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like, we lost a lot of money over the years, but it also gave us so much knowledge of the industry and who to trust and what not to do. It gave us depth of content, which we wouldn't have had otherwise. So we made a lot of mistakes and we learned the hard way and we know how to avoid them. Like Hang-O-Matic Stud is our next invention. It's a professional version of Hang-O-Matic, but we would never make the same mistakes twice, so.
Right, we would use the same packaging company that we used most recently to develop that box correctly the first time. One of my friends actually messaged me this morning, and she said, hey, I spoke to your packaging company, but it's $5,000, and it's really expensive. I was like, okay, well, I get that. But now you're going to go to someone who's going to be less expensive. You're going to print your box. You're going to get into a store. It's not going to sell. You're not going to get a reorder, and you're going to have to do this again. Isn't it better to just spend that extra money with the right person the first time? That was a huge learning curve. Had we known now what we did then, we wouldn't have done that.
I'm with you. Packaging is totally important. I've seen products with bad packaging change it and all of a sudden start selling. So, hey, I want to ask, how do you both balance working and living together and raising children? I know a son who works with his parents in the family business, and when they're not working, eating, or just trying to watch a baseball game, his dad will start talking shop and he can't get away from it. How do you guys manage your work-life balance?
We don't. It's a nightmare. We don't balance. We have horrible balance. We're best friends. We're business partners. We're adversaries. We're husband and wife. I mean, we talk about work all the time. Boys know how to box a Hang-O. We have 2 little kids that can box, interpack, mastication, sticker, Hang-O-Matic. The boys are very involved in stuff that happens in the house. That's probably our boundaries are non-existent. But we love each other, and part of
date night.
Yeah, we do date night, but when we talk about on date night, we're talking business.
Right.
Business is part of our connection. We're very different people. I'm a anal organized Virgo. Karina is a inconsistent, all over the place Gemini. And the things that bring us together are things like business. And through business and finding things that we agree on or argue about and agree on are ways I feel fulfill each other's our language of love is business and coming to a resolution, and then we feel happy, and then we feel love, and then we go out and get dinner and drink a bottle of wine, and that's our thing.
Right, so we can celebrate.
Right, we've incorporated work into our daily lives kind of completely.
Right, and to me, even though it's work, but Jared, when he invented it, it was something that didn't exist before. So for me, I'm just so proud that I can help him sell it into stores for something that he created with his own bare hands. And he was a college kid, and now his product is hanging on the shelf among all these other huge companies who have hundreds and thousands of products in their company, and we're still working out of our kitchen. So to me, it's exciting that when we talk about business, it's exciting to have that conversation. Does that make sense?
No, I totally understand what you're saying, and I speak to a lot of inventors, and some have more of an engineering mindset like Jared. And they need to partner with somebody who really is strong on the business side, especially, sales, which is your strength. But then it's really tough because partnerships don't work and, for many reasons. But when you're married, you have to have that trust. So I think it's a great combination. And since it works for you. But I wanted to ask you about Thunderdome. Now that's Thunder with an F, not a T, right?
Yeah, it was Thunderdome with an F, like Frank. Steve Harvey Thunderdome. What Thunderdome was is, we went into a dome with another inventor. They were pitching Lego, adhesive, where you can stick a Lego board onto the wall or the back of your computer so you can build Legos. It's on skin, if that makes any sense. So rather than building Legos on the floor up, you build it off the wall. So the reason we went up against each other is because they were hanging something onto the wall, and because we were hanging something onto the wall, they thought that we would be a good match. Well, we ended up losing that show because we were pitching to the audience, and the audience got to choose who will win $100,000. So unfortunately, we lost. It was Jared and I against his partners who were both boys. So it was like a husband and wife going against two boys, and Jared and I were very aggressive, and they were very sweet.
Right, and that's what it came down to was Karina and I were really aggressive, and not everyone liked that personality, and they were very, nice, sweet, soft-spoken. It was almost like we were too much.
Right.
And it was very audience-driven, so.
Right.
Yeah, winning certainly would have been nice. I'm sure $100,000 would have come in handy. When it aired, did you get a nice boost in sales?
Yeah, we saw a boost in sales, and we were able to, even though we didn't win on the show, we were able to use that video and send it to our retailers that they thought were on the show, so they also got a boost in sales. And we also were able to get into 3 new stores after that because we were on the show. So it was really big exposure. I always tell people that if you have an opportunity to be on TV or online TV or on any show, you have to do it, no matter what, because that's what's going to drive, traffic to your website, and you never know who's going to see it. Listen, after that, got a couple of calls of investors wanting to invest in our company. None of them were people we wanted to do business with because they didn't have any retail experience. We really wanted an investor who could take us to the next level. But the investors that called us just wanted to invest in our company and give us money, which is nice. So we really wanted someone who can help us go to the event.
Bring more value.
Bring more value than just be like a bank. But you know what? Some people who are new might want that. Because just like you said, some people are either engineers and some people are sales. When someone creates a product, they want to take the easy way out and license it because they just don't know what to do when it comes to sales. And where Jared and I are lucky, we've been in sales our whole life. So he was able to invent it, and he was able to sell it. While he worked full-time, I emailed all the stores, and I sold it. And then if some stores wanted to meet, then Jared flew out, and he met with some people, and he met with Beth Essenbian in person, and closed them in person. Otherwise, I emailed everybody.
Well, let me follow up by asking, why didn't you go the licensing route? Why not sign a licensing agreement with a major brand who already has distribution? Why not have them take the Hang-O-Matic off your hands and get yourself a royalty check from time to time?
We approached a few acting on TV companies, and no one was really willing to pay us enough to make us happy because it was new. So they were going to take on a risk. But they didn't want to take on the big risk because we didn't have to prove sales yet. Right, so rather than us get like a 2 to 8% royalty, Jared, he was like, what, $300,000 in the hole when we started, right? So getting that 2 to 8% royalty really wasn't going to cover the cost, the money he had out.
Right.
So we, through the process, we met someone who licensed her product 4 years after she sold about 1 million units within those 4 years, and she said, if you guys can top it out and do it yourself, until you sell enough units, then license it. And you'll get a much better deal when you can go to a licensing company and say, hey, this is how many we've sold. Now let's talk about licensing.
We interviewed Carrie Jeske, and that was one of her recommendations as well. Just, wait till the sales are there and your negotiating position will be stronger. It makes sense. Hey, I'd like to ask you about elevator pitch, because when I discovered it, it seemed like a pretty smart idea, merging of television with crowdfunding, and it looked like it came out well for you. So how was the experience?
It was okay. I don't think we were hoping Entrepreneur Magazine, who was sponsored, basically, we were hoping the magazine embraced it more, and they really didn't connect two together.
They were sponsored by Indiegogo, and so they asked us to do an Indiegogo campaign, which we did, but they didn't really do a good job of driving traffic to the Indiegogo website. They drove traffic to Indiegogo, but it wasn't per product specific. So when the show aired, they didn't say, if you want to invest in this company, go to Indiegogo/Hang-O-Matic. They just said, go to Indiegogo. And then you were, once you went to Indiegogo, you saw hundreds and thousands of products. So you then had to, sift through and find ours. And so that wasn't very successful for us. But again, just being on the show also helped us with our retailers because we were able to use the video. That video, as you saw, was awesome, and it was was very well made.
Right, retailers, they like that her and I are pushing our attention. Most companies are spending millions on advertising and driving sales, and Karina and I do too, but for free. So when we get on these shows or on our podcast as well, or our YouTube channel as well, we're driving sales at a good price back to our product. Nobody looks at Hang-O-Matic, right? You don't know it exists. If you ever heard of it, you're not looking for it. So it's our job to drive sales, we feel, and that's why we put ourselves out there as much as we can.
Right, the stores don't do that for you.
How can people contact you, or where can they go to find more information about the Hang-O-Matic?
The Hang-O-Matic website is Hang-O-Matic.com, and the homepage of Hang-O-Matic also shows all the stores that we're in, so you can just plug in your zip code or visit your local retailer, if it's like Home Depot, Best and Beyond, Hobby Lobby. And if anybody wants to get in touch with us and ask us any questions about the process, they can visit thepitchtogetrich.com. And we have some YouTube videos on there and our podcast, and they can also reach out to us that way. I've also written some blogs on how to get into Walmart or Home Depot, how to pitch a buyer, how to talk to a buyer. So every week I try and write a new post how to do, it with this process.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching your videos, and I find something new that strikes a chord with me, and you give some really good information, and you do so in an entertaining way. I remember one in particular regarding manufacturing. You said that you should get several quotes, because if you only get one quote, you're probably getting taken, and I thought that was really smart.
Right. Absolutely.
You said that.
That's my
department. We have departments here.
We know we're good at it. Like one of us is good at one thing, one of us is good at another thing. Like Karina does all of so Karina chases all the retailers and books the meetings, and I fly out and do the presentations and close the deal. Because I'm a little more polished, and Karina's more of a bulldog. So Karina gets their attention, gets samples, gets the meeting, I fly out. I'm the one who flies out, I'm the one who does the presentation, I'm the one who closes the deal, but I can't do it without Karina, and I don't think she can do it without me, so.
Right, we hate working together and love working together.
Well, right, we need each other, but we actually don't love working together, but.
I do.
She loves working together more than I do. I'm just, I like my desk clean and organized, and she doesn't, and that's our biggest problem is I like all my stuff organized.
I need my own office.
Yeah, she's her own.
So we're on their network. So I'm not sure if anyone actually can find Pitch to Get Rich through iTunes. They can definitely find it on our website because they post it there. But they should be able to find it by Inventors Launchpad, and then they'll see our episodes with our logo within that network on iTunes and Stitcher, wherever podcast.
Right.
I was actually gonna figure that out myself and add ourselves to its own kind of channel so that people could find it.
I want to thank you, Jared and Karina, for allowing us to share your story. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask you, say someone is new to inventing and has an idea for an invention. What advice would you give them?
My number one advice for a new inventor is don't give anyone money up front. So if someone's asking you for $500 to show it to someone or take it to retail or do something, they're probably a bad person. They're probably a person who does it to everyone, who's preying on the vulnerability or excitement of a new inventor. So that is my number one advice, is don't give anyone money until they bring you a purchase order that you can invoice.
And our other advice is, when you show your product to family and friends, don't listen to their advice. Ever. Because they always just say, oh yeah, it's great, oh yeah.
What I tell Karina today to give you advice with love, then that's not real life. That's advice with love, and it's just not the same thing.
Right. And the last thing is, even though it's your baby, it's not your baby. It's all business. It's a product. It doesn't have any feelings. It either works or it doesn't.
And it might suck, and that's okay.
Right. And if someone tells you it sucks, it's okay. Figure out how to tell them that it does not suck. And if it does not sell, then it does suck.